The anima is not the soul in man, but rather the soul image, the unconscious feminine side of a man's psyche that he always carries within him. Carl Jung. You are not loving her, you are seeking her to complete a psychic distortion. You are searching for yourself inside someone who only mimics the shape of your longing. This isn't connection. This is compulsion. You learn to obey, not through words, but through absence. You serve the silence, the soft withdrawal, the look that retracts, not the one that gives. And in that vacuum, you twist, you perform, you submit, not to her, but to the phantom. You think she's real, but she is only the screen. The anima, your inner feminine, is what commands you. Her curves are just a reflection, her scent a symbol, her approval a reprogramming of your spine. Jung did not tell you to love her. He warned you she lives in you. Unexamined, untouched by logic, immune to strength. You call it attraction. But it is hypnosis. Each step you take toward her, when rooted in unawareness, is a step away from yourself. You do not chase her. You chase the completion of a pattern wired before memory. You were conditioned to earn the smile, to win the touch, to validate your existence through her emotions. She doesn't know she's doing it, but her instincts do, and they are older than language. She performs softness when she needs control. She bleeds affection to bind you. She weeps not to express sadness, but to disable your resistance. This isn't romance. This is programming. And until you break the architecture, you will remain orbiting the feminine. Never centered, never sovereign. Now, you will see the anima for what it is. A psychic parasite built into your identity. A mirror forged by the mother you forgot to confront. A pattern of surrender disguised as desire. Now the cutting begins. You think it's her you want. The way she walks, the sound of her voice, the softness beneath her gaze. But it isn't her. It never was. You are hypnotized by the projection, by the anima Jung's phantom feminine pressed into your unconscious before you ever touched a woman. She is not a person. She is a program, a memory not your own, a wound stitched into a silhouette. You don't desire her hips. You desire resolution. The unspoken craving to be whole through someone who mimics what your psyche lost in the mirror of the mother. But no woman can be that symbol forever. And yet, you kneel. She becomes the canvas for your internal famine. You paint her with hopes, then suffer when she does not live up to the ghost you wrote into her body. You call her cold, you call her distant, but it's not her fault she never knew she was cast in your internal myth. Your anima scripted her lines before she opened her mouth. Jung saw it. He named it. The anima, the archetype that seduces men from within. Not because she is malicious, but because you are unguarded. She appears innocent. But that's the trap. Innocence becomes your invitation to kneel. You seek to protect what doesn't need protection. You crave to hold what does not want to be held. You pour yourself into the vessel that only reflects what you lack. Not love, not intimacy, just hunger coiled in myth. The anima does not love you. She replicates the shape of love. So you follow. You chase what is already inside you, like a dog chewing its own tail, calling it devotion. And when she turns away, when she changes, grows bored, or walks the collapse, you feel is not heartbreak. It is the shattering of a mirror you mistook for your soul. You are not in love. You are imprisoned in a pattern. Not hers, yours. And until you dissect this compulsion, until you burn the blueprint of the anima in your unconscious. Every woman you touch will be another mask worn by the same ghost. She smiles, and in that smile you vanish. You think you are being seen, but you are being measured and reshaped. Not by her cruelty, she doesn't need to be cruel. Her glance is enough. Her silence does more than words ever could. You study her face like a holy text. You adjust your posture, your tone, your breath, all to keep the mirror clean, to avoid distortion, to remain worthy of reflection. But the mirror lies. It does not show you yourself. It shows the version of you that pleases, that fits, that bends, that keeps the feminine calm, entertained, desired. You become her fiction, a character in a play you never auditioned for. The man who doesn't speak too loudly, the one who notices her pain without being told, the one who intuits her needs without asking. You call this maturity. She calls it chemistry. Jung calls it possession. You are not being admired. You are being edited. And the longer you perform, the more distant you grow from the axis of your own being. The anima is not just a projection. It is a sculptor. It reshapes your spine. It softens your resolve. It teaches you to apologize for your presence. You begin to hate the parts of you that make her uncomfortable. You sand yourself down. You mute your voice. You make yourself agreeable, digestible, safe. But safe for whom? Not for you. You are dying by degrees, becoming a stranger in your own bones, trading your masculine structure for the illusion of emotional approval. The mirror rewards obedience, not truth. She does not want the truth of you. She wants the fantasy she projected onto your face, and you deliver it willingly, eagerly, gratefully. This is not love. This is erasure, and it's not her fault. She is not conscious of the script. She is not aware of the performance. The manipulation is instinctive. The program is ancient. You are not betrayed by her. You are betrayed by your reflection in her. You bend to stay inside the frame, but no matter how hard you try, the mirror will always demand more, until one day there is nothing left to reflect. She doesn't speak, and yet you listen. She cries, and you move. Her silence is a lever, her touch a switch, her gaze a code that unlocks your obedience without demand. This is not connection. This is control. Emotional, silent, pre-verbal. You say she's sensitive. You say she needs care. But every flinch in her expression steers you. Every sigh bends your spine. Every tear becomes law. You adjust. You decode. You submit. You confuse this with compassion. But compassion that erases you is not virtue. It is hypnosis. Jung warned, the anima does not appear with a face. She appears with a mood, a feeling, a pull. And that pull, once internalized, becomes your master. You anticipate her disappointment before she even speaks. You apologize before the crime. You regulate yourself for her comfort and call it love. But she is not soothing you. She is reprogramming you, not from hatred, but from instinct. She performs withdrawal when you assert. She offers warmth when you yield. She confesses vulnerability when you prepare to leave. She vanishes when you stand still. Her behavior is not random. It is biological, tactical, archetypal. This is how men are shaped, not with orders, but with affections given and revoked. She becomes the puppeteer, not by desire, but by design. And you, the stringed marionette, dancing to feelings that were never yours. This isn't cruelty. This isn't abuse. This is programming. And you were never taught to resist it, because resistance means rejection. And rejection to the anima possessed is death. So you smile when you're tired. You comfort when you're confused. You make love when you feel empty, because her pleasure matters more than your clarity. You are taught that emotion is sacred, especially hers, that her breakdown is your fault, that her silence is your cue, that her chaos is your responsibility. But Jung knew. He mapped the shadows. He saw how men surrender their sovereignty not in war, but in the quiet mechanics of emotional dependency. You are not being loved. You are being governed through softness, through absence, through pain that doesn't speak but commands, until one day you confuse her sadness with your purpose, and your soul becomes the currency of her moods. You don't live, you regulate, you serve, but only shadows deserve that kind of worship. And she is not your goddess. She is your mirror and your master. You think you are whole, but you are possessed, not by her body, not by her voice, by something deeper, quieter, older. She doesn't need to touch you to own you. She only needs to exist inside the unlit corridors of your psyche. And she does, always has. Jung called it the anima, not a fantasy, not an idea, a force, a living psychic entity that seizes the male unconscious and dresses itself in the face of every woman you ever wanted. And once it takes hold, you are no longer man. You are reaction. Reaction to her pain. Reaction to her desire. Reaction to her distance. You orbit. You recede. You surrender. And worse, you call it love. The anima doesn't need permission. It infiltrates through dreams, through mother, through culture, through every unspoken belief about what it means to be desired. It coils around your spine, teaching you to move only when pulled, to speak only when received, to feel only when reflected. You are not choosing her. You are obeying the psychic command to return to the womb. Not her womb, but the symbolic feminine warmth, approval, envelopment. She says she wants a man, but her instincts want a servant. And you become that servant the moment you forget who you are without her. You become pliable, predictable. You suppress your rage to be accepted. You dull your edge to avoid her disapproval. You question your instincts whenever she disapproves. You no longer stand. You adapt. This is not evolution. This is dismemberment. The anima-possessed man is not in love. He is entranced. He defends the very thing that is consuming him. He calls it sacred. He defends her even when she hollows him. Because to betray her is to confront the void inside himself. So he builds temples to her silence, writes poetry for her moods, sacrifices power at the altar of her gaze. This is not masculinity. This is abandonment of self in exchange for feminine approval. And the anima grows stronger. Each time you yield, she deepens her hold. Each time you suppress, she rewrites your identity. Each time you soften, she takes another inch of your axis, until one day, you are no longer a man with a center, but a shadow with a leash. The possession is complete. You don't even see the bars, because they are made of love. You rotate around her, her needs, her pain, her weather. You think this is devotion. It is not. It is disorientation. The loss of your axis. You were not made to spin. You were made to stand. But the anima has taught you otherwise. You seek meaning in her approval. You derive identity from her reactions. You think a man is proven by how well he makes her feel safe. This is the inversion. The quiet death, the unmarked grave of masculine orientation. You are not her sun. You are her satellite, and each orbit bleeds your spine thinner. She smiles. You glow. She turns. You darken. This isn't love. This is gravitational collapse. Jung didn't flatter. He diagnosed. He showed you. The anima isn't romance, it's regression. A return to the boy who learned to exist only when pleasing the mother. The boy who was praised for shrinking, rewarded for silence, loved for disappearing. You became the echo, not the sound. Now she says, be soft, be safe, be hers, and you comply. Not out of fear, but because your axis has already been traded. For what? For peace, for closeness, for a place in her arms. But arms that reshape you are not love. They are ropes. You bend, so she stays. You agree, so she smiles. You silence your gut, so she won't withdraw. You have been taught that conflict is wrong, that assertion is violence, that strength must be rebranded as sensitivity. But sensitivity without center is not depth. It is weakness dressed in emotional currency. Your axis is not emotional compliance. Your center is not determined by her perception of it. You are not a sculpture carved by her comfort. Each time you shift to maintain the illusion of harmony, you die in fragments. You begin to think her peace is your purpose. You abandon conviction. You doubt your clarity. You become fluent in walking on eggshells. But a man walking on eggshells is not a man. He is a ghost with manners. Your spine is not hers to soften. Your fire is not hers to soothe. Your words are not hers to vet. You do not orbit her, not anymore, because your axis must return, not to dominate, not to rebel, but to exist without her permission. And until it does, you will continue spinning, forever chasing gravity in a system that was never yours. It was never her. Not the woman, not the girl, not the lover. She is the symptom, the surface. What you are truly entangled with is the mother program, the invisible script, the silent commandments, the architecture of your psyche built long before you touched flesh. Jung saw it not as pathology, but as inevitability. You were wired to need her approval, not the woman, but the archetype. You mistake this need for desire. You mistake this pain for romance. You call it heartbreak when she leaves, but it is really the collapse of the scaffolding you were clinging to. You don't want her. You want redemption through her. You want the mother you never questioned to finally say, you are enough. But she never will. She can't, because she doesn't exist. You were raised to respond, not to lead, to serve emotions, not to question them, to obey softness even when it suffocates you. You became fluent in pleasing. You became addicted to being wanted. And so you repeated the loop every time a woman smiled, you offered your spine. This is not masculine. This is inherited enslavement. The mother program runs deep. It whispers, be good, be kind, be wanted. But wanted by whom? At what cost? Every man lost to the anima is not destroyed by her. He is destroyed by the belief that he must be chosen to exist. And so long as that belief remains, you are vulnerable to every smile, every silence, every tear. Because your frame was never yours. It was borrowed, built by hands that feared confrontation, modeled after fathers who disappeared into politeness, who kneeled not out of respect, but out of psychic submission. You are not just confronting her. You are confronting the entire edifice that made you think love is earned through self-erasure. Kill it. Not with rage, with clarity. See the program. See its mechanics, its buttons, its triggers, its rewards. Burn them, because until you do, you will chase not women, but ghosts. You will love not them, but the emptiness inside you that they temporarily silence. This is not healing. This is confrontation. You must kill the mother within, not the woman who raised you, but the unconscious command to kneel. You will not be held. You will not be completed. You will not be chosen. You will stand And in that standing, the anima loses her grip. You become axis, not shadow. You become flame, not flicker. And when she looks at you again, there will be no pull, no twitch, no reaction. Only stillness, only center, only man. She no longer governs you, not her warmth, not her distance, not her silence. She leans in. You do not flinch. She pulls away. You do not chase, because you no longer seek reflection. You are no longer a mirror. The anima has been named. The mother program has been shattered. What remains is not emptiness, but origin. You are not waiting to be loved. You are not trying to be chosen. You are not offering yourself as a solution to her wounds. You are not a cure. You are not a balm. You are not a sun begging to be seen. You are the end of the cycle. Her gaze holds no spell. Her pain pulls no strings. Her affection no longer defines your worth. You see it now, the ancient trick. The unconscious pull toward envelopment, toward softness, toward return. It dies here, not because you hate her, not because you reject femininity, but because you finally reject the lie that your life depends on her recognition. You are not a satellite. You are not a reflection. You are not a servant of emotional weather. You are the axis. And now, you no longer interpret her signals. You no longer adjust for her comfort. You no longer compromise your clarity for the promise of closeness. She can laugh. She can weep. She can vanish. It does not move you, because your spine is not hers to shape, because your soul no longer negotiates, because your presence is not a performance. This is the stillness Jung spoke of, not the quiet of suppression, but the immovability of a man who has seen the ghost and chosen not to follow it. You have exited the loop. No more roles. No more puppeteering. No more longing. You do not desire her embrace. You do not seek her warmth. You do not measure your manhood in the mirror of her smile. You no longer love. You no longer kneel. You no longer need. You are the center, unmoving, unseduced, untouched. And if she stands before you now, with her softness, her symbols, her pull, she will find nothing to enter. No wound, no hunger, no hole. Only this, a man. Defined, cold, clear, sovereign,